So we have a few things that we want to download to you all first, but one important piece is that we have a few door prizes that some of our panelists have provided. And we thought that the way to distribute those would be to ask you all to fill out on these note cards, either a workshop you'd love to see happen in the future for flower farming. What's one of your biggest challenges? And then, or like, is there some technical aspect of flower farming that you would love to have a workshop on? So if you could, I'm just gonna send these notepads around and feel free to write your name and those ideas, and then we'll take a drawing at the end. We've got some Camellia, is that?
Camellia and Salal and some pussy willows.
Whoa.
Stick.
And Claire, all the way from Elby, has brought some exciting
And my hope is that everyone can get their hands on some of my exciting twigs.
yeah. It may not even
There are enough, I think, for a small handful of my twigs.
So I'll send these around, and just feel free to jot down on those. And then another housekeeping thing is just the bathrooms are located down this hallway. Just go down that way and stay left and you'll find them. And please help yourself to coffee and tea. We'll keep an eye on that and keep those hot for you. And then of course we'll have our lunch after we're finished. So all right. So as you all are aware, the local flower farming movement has a lot of momentum, and which is great. And a couple of years ago here, with our farm team, we did some brainstorming with some flower farmers. Are like, what can we do to serve this growing, community? So one of the ideas was, well, can we have regular workshops focused just on flower farmers, just to keep that, that focus and a networking outlet for folks as well. So the one important piece that was identified out of that brainstorm group was like, how can we support farmers to get the provide outlets for their product, all this great product that more and more people are growing. So last spring we did a panel workshop similar to this one. I think a lot of y'all were there, and it was focused on the wholesale flower farmer outlet. Like we had some panelists from a few local wholesale outlets come, and we had a similar panel discussion on how can we connect all of our new farmers with these outlets, and these outlets want more local flowers, so what can we do? So that was first go at a flower workshop, and then this one is a similar focus, but looking at connecting flower farmers with florists, and the florists who are looking to connect with local farmers. So that's kind of the backstory of how we got to these workshops. So, and we hope you find it helpful. And again, if you have any other ideas for other workshops that you'd like to see, please let us know. So we're eager to provide relevant programming for you all. So, I also just wanted to give you all a quick rundown of PCD and what we're about, and so that you can plug into our resources if they're appropriate. And first of all, of course, you're aware we hold lots of workshops, so you can. We've got a flyer out there with our upcoming spring workshops. We always post them at our website, so you can keep up to date. And if you're on our newsletter, they come out through there. So feel free to sign up for those. We do a lot of workshops almost every month. We've got something going on. So we also have an equipment rental program, and all the way from seed drills to manure spreaders. We also have a BCS tractor available. So some of y'all small scale intensive market flower gardens, we have a BCS that's available to rent. And then this spring, we're going to be launching kind of a suite of market garden tools, including some Jang seeders. We've got a flame weeder. We've got a set of Swift soil blockers that we're going to be debuting. And keep an eye on our some of those, it's kind of ideas like you should try them out. I mean, you could rent them for years, or you could just figure out, is this something I really want to invest in, and then purchase it yourself. So that's kind of the vision behind that. So equipment rental is a big piece of what we do here. And then we're also available to provide technical assistance. around all things natural resources. So if you're looking to manage your soil health and fertility, or irrigation efficiency, or bolster wildlife habitat on your property, we would love to partner with you. And we can do that over the phone, or better yet, we can set up a site visit and we can come out to your farm. We do free soil testing as well. So if you're interested in just kind of getting a baseline and some recommendations on next steps, we can do that. One of the best parts of our technical assistance is that we do have quite a few financial resources. So natural resource projects don't tend to be cheap, and we have access to a number of funding resources. And so that if that's something you're interested in, that we can also facilitate through a site visit, figure out if there's a good fit for you. That including we do a lot with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So we can, if we don't have the right funding fit, we can send you over to them, and they've got just larger pots of money and just a lot more options. So we can help you kind of understand their process and navigate that. We've got a flyer from NRCS out on our table. And so you can kind of get a feel for what their programs are like, and connect with them. And so related to some great funding opportunities, since we have a captive audience, we wanted to highlight a special project that we've been working on for a couple of years, which is pollinator planting templates. So these are hedgerows, both woodies and herbaceous hedgerows that we've developed with farmers. We brought in a team of farmers to kind of advise us on what makes sense on the farmscape. And so we've got a whole suite of these templates developed now, and I wanted to let Katie Nelson, who's on staff with us, to just walk you through those, because we're really excited about them. There's some really great funding opportunities to get, to pay for these on your property. And Claire and Amy on our panel, they also were key in constructing the flower farmer templates. So we have a couple that are specifically designed for flower farmers. So, Katie, can we?
Yeah, so with funding from Western SARE, which stands for Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education, we were able to develop 12 different unique hedgerow templates that maximize bloom window while also serving a bunch of different purposes with conserving natural resources. So here I have an example of one of the templates. This one is our harvestable hedgerow. So this one is ethnobotanical. So they have a bunch of different species down here, and as their scientific name, their max height and width, and then also their bloom window. So this helps conserve pollinator habitat. And then on the top, it shows the mature aerial view, and so what it's going to look like when it grows up. And if you want to scan the QR code with the templates out there, it'll redirect you to our website where you'll be able to see all of them.
Cool.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I live in Tacoma and I'm on like a pretty small urban lot. So usually when I see the resources, I'm like, nothing really applies to me.
That's so cool. That feels
But so that's what I mean, I
30 feet or less.
figure, yes.
And not that wide.
So, and would you
Yeah.
guys do a site visit for a smaller place to just see like, I mean, what else I could do there? I'm just curious for, people who aren't out and don't have a lot of property.
Right, yeah. I mean, as you all are aware, the level of, micro farming is, it's real. And so you can be small and still qualify for our programs and NRCS as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
Are those for mostly honeybee or all pollinators in general?
A wide variety of pollinators and also beneficial insects. So like ladybugs, lacewings, hummingbirds.
Because as a beekeeper, you might want to think about on small areas like she's describing, you're going to
Yeah.
attract a lot of bees.
Mhm.
Do you have grandchildren that's going to come around? Do you have a neighbor that's going to give us that? So that's what we think of as a beekeeper.
Gotcha.
And also add just one thing, you mentioned those were ethnobotanical, so a lot of edibles, but also the flower farmer piece. So we talked a lot about like, what do we actually cut for things, So for flower farmers in this group, which is basically everybody, like there's a lot of good cuts on these things, so it's for that.
Great. Yeah, so feel free to take any of our information out on those tables and reach out to us, don't be shy.
I would also say just hug Katie's neck because she did all of the work compiling these, making the overviews, all of the like beautiful artwork that goes with it, the color coding, which for me, it's like a brain explosion. And so if you're anything like me and appreciate that sort of thing in another human, please tell her.
Are most of those set up for frequent watering? Or
Yeah, so it's split between adaptable, so those could be in either a moist or more dry environment, and then some that are designated for moist environments. And typically, a lot of them will need irrigation for about 2 years while they're getting established. But these are designed for minimal maintenance and irrigation.
Great. All right. That's all we want to share with you. Can get started on the real deal. Because part of the reason we wanted to get you all here with this panel discussion format is to network. And so we really want to know who you all are. So we're gonna take the time to just go all around the room, and if you could share your name and share, are you flower farming? Are you a florist? Are you just interested in getting into it? Just share, brief, where am I? What am I doing? And then we can get to know you, and then you can kind of like, oh, I'd love to talk to that person after the panel over lunch. You're kind of ready, you're informed. So we could start on kind of sneak around and share your name and a little bit about you.
I'm Kristen Rubin. I'm from Gig Harbor and I'm a flower farmer and I farm on I have 7 acres, but planted, I probably have a 1.5, and I sell to florists and out of markets and out of West Sound, Exchange. Yeah, and I've been doing it for about 6 years. Perfect.
Your business.
What?
Name of your business.
Oh, Sweetwater Sound Co. Thank you, Fiona.
I'm Kelly Wilson. I am about 14 minutes from here. I'm between Puyallup and Tacoma, and I'm on about 2.5 acres. We're Blue Heron Acres. We're primarily a host site to a Chivito's Nature School for their elementary program. And so as the host person, I just do a lot of working on the property, and I do a lot of gardening and educational farming type stuff, and it's a little bit expensive. So selling market bouquets, and this season I'll be doing this Cosmos for Washington wholesale, but obviously just looking at that.
Yeah.
I'm Fiona. I'm predominantly a florist and wedding designer, stylist. But I also have a farm, and sort of running part of that as a venue and looking to get into flower farming, to have that be part of the venue and flower business, all the things. We're on about 28 acres and out in Eatonville. It's Norman Farms, and yeah, only kind of dipped my toe into some flower farming, but that's definitely something I'm really looking to get into and connect more with other flower farmers. I know Kristen very well, but yeah, just looking to connect work as well.
My name's Ivana. I'm an urban farmer, and I have a small urban farm on my property, and I'm looking to do more events. So I want to do weddings, and I just started getting more into flower farming last year and less into edibles. So yeah, looking to move more into flowers. And
I'm Hannah. I use she, her pronouns. I currently work at the Franklin Pierce School District Farm. And I used to work at the Large Farm and have been growing flowers not for sale, but just for, I mean, some for sale, but also just for beauty and for the space, for the past like 7 years. I worked at Fernseed for a little bit, between these two farm jobs. So I have my toes dipped in many different things. Yeah, and I'm connected to like some Tacoma backyard flower farmers. And then I know you all from that. Yeah, and I also grow in like a co-op kind of style with my friends on a farm in Fife. So lots of different spaces. I've done a few weddings for friends. So yeah, excited to stay and meet you all.
I'm Callie and I have a teeny tiny little garden patch in Proctor in North Tacoma. It's like, figured it out, it's like 1/32 of an acre. And I live really close to Lee, so we actually met when she was walking past my garden, which is on this walking path. So I am a tiny like micro grower, and I closed my LLC just this year because like it was like a side hustle and it was just really hard and the joy was going out of it for me. So I'm trying to figure out how to like keep going with growing. I'm just gonna do it for enjoyment and like sell to her. She'll just come and get stuff in my garden. So anyway, I'm kind of trying, I want to stay in the community.
Yeah.
But the way I was doing it isn't working. But yeah, it's nice to see some friendly faces. They're, people I know. And I just want to say I got to go to the Florist farm last June and we were gifted a whole like set of all the Florist originals. And there's some that I don't like or some that I have extras of. So I brought packs. And I can, I assume there's gonna be great interest, so I can just fill out, 4C, whatever. Just come to me. I've got a pack and I've got, some Sharpies and bags and stuff, so I can spread them off.
I'm Jillian. I use she, her pronouns. I am primarily a mixed vegetable produce farmer on a food bank farm in Maple Valley. Roughly around the pandemic starting, we started adding a lot of flowers because we needed flowers. And I've always been a big dahlia gardener at home. And so I've been veering towards doing that as well. So like kind of splitting my time between having a job that other people pay me and then doing this flower farming. And so, yeah, I'm on maybe an eighth I have of an acre at home, and I'm hoping to find just other properties around to lease and add space. And too many dahlias.
That's interesting.
Karina, Midnight Flora. I also have too many dahlias. Hoping to add a high tunnel this year and a roadside stand. I'm like 7 minutes away, which is really nice. So that's pretty much it.
So you're in Phil.
Yeah. Kind of over near the cannery and the cemetery. You have to drive right by my house. Which is actually
Great for a farm stand.
yes. There's also an empty city lot across the street. It's owned by some.
You're the best friend.
I'm Nick. I snuck in from Kitsap County. And we have 12 acres and we just started getting going this year, after cleaning up a mess of a property. And we're trying to figure out what directions to go. We're trying to get as much information as we can. So I'm here to learn what flowers are.
I'm Kayla. I have a whole farm out in, Roy, right on the border of Roy and Eatonville. I have 5 acres that I currently only grow on about half an acre. For the last 4 years or so, I've been dahlia focused. and just in the last year and a half, have started focusing on cut flower production rather than just obsessive collecting. This year, I'm growing a significant wider variety of flowers, and I'm really excited about that, but still lots of dahlias. And I am here primarily to find outlets for all those flowers. Right now, I've just got a couple of florists that I've been providing to, but I definitely had a lot of leftover blooms last year, so I'm ready to give.
Hi, I'm Michelle Maury from Red Root Ranch in Port Orchard. We have a diverse farm. So we've got animals as well as we've got lavender going and cut flowers, and I'm looking to expand into more cut flowers. I sell from a farm stand currently or other events.
I'm Jamie Ost and I own Lake Taps Florals. So thank you for having this. It's amazing to be able to flower farmers. And I will tell you guys that I have to purchase from wholesalers for certain things, but it kills me to purchase from wholesalers for local things. And so super grateful to be able to make connections with all of you, and you'll probably see I'm like friendly any of you. So desperate for any of your availability and price lists for sure. Nice.
I'm Sharon. I'm ground I grow. I'm in leasing 1.5 acres in East Puyallup. It's pretty evenly split between mixed vegetables and flowers. And this is my third season on the property, my second year of sales. My big ambitions for this year is to really get into snapdragons, and I'll be installing my first hedgerow.
And Marcia, we bought 25 acres up in Bonnie Lake property, and I'm just exploring options. We have 7-inch acres of forest land, so maybe Salal or other room could maybe go in there, and then just, there was dairy pasture for property. Yeah.
My name is Betty. I live in Graham. I have 5 acres. I had a friend that I worked with for years who was a florist as well as a surgical nurse that I worked with. And she said, "Oh, you should grow flowers for me." Well, she bought 5 lilies. I have peonies growing. I've done a lot of sunflowers. I have hydrangeas. And I was like, "What else do you want me to get? What do you want me to do?" She never responds. "Oh, those are pretty." That's the response I get. So I've done investment, including purchasing soil to go on top of the rocks, etc. And most of the peonies are white. So they're going to be really taking off this year. So I need direction. I've tried to speak to several florists, but they just kind of look at it and when you go to their shop. So to see what people are interested in so I can expand and maybe make sense.
I'm Becky. I have a Wall of Blooms, also in Kitsap County. And I'm going into my 3rd year as a flower farmer, and I sell CSAs. I do a la carte weddings, and also through the West Sound Floral Exchange for wholesale.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Milani Akey, and I'm from Allen, Washington. So in between Belfair, Olympia, little tiny town. I sell through the Gig Harbor Flower Farmers Guild, my farm stand, and at some smaller stores. Let's see, I go on 1/2 acre, and I was fortunate enough to have my parents buy the 5 acres next to us. And my neighbor is also thinking of moving, so that's another 5 acres that we're gonna try and add to the crazy hobby farm and expand even further. So my focus this year is a U-pick yoga type of outlet, you know, a retreat, mini retreat getaway. But yeah, I plan to continue selling to florists. And my farm stand, yeah.
Hi, I'm Leah Ray Stefanski, Ray of Sunshine Flowers. I'm in Gig Harbor. I'm on an acre. I farm about a third. And my goal was to have this amazing farm when my kids went off to college. And I gave myself 5 years to learn to grow and then to sell, but it's expensive. So I'm going into my 5th year and I would love to have a stand, but I live in a gated community at the end of the whole set. So I'm looking for different outlets. I have all these beautiful flowers. My name's Audrey. We have Morrison Family Farms in Roy, and we sell produce, cut flowers, herbs, and potted plants.
I'm at Mixed Edge and I'm 5 acre on farm 2. Continuing to open up more around.
Kevin runs our BCS.
Yeah.
Talking about our BCS.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ray. I'm from Hurston County. I'm a steward of a flower shop that's been there for 2 years shy of 100 years in downtown Olympia. Since I took over 26 years ago, I've called it Capital Florist, but it's been lots of different names and lots of different shops, but always a flower shop there. So I'm just trying to source new products and find out who's got the best stuff. And if you're interested in knowing what kind of work I do and what I'm looking for, I have a business card with a QR code, so you can get a sense of my design style and hit me up if you've got, a bunch of something or another that's excellent. Yeah, I have lots of cards. Thank you. Thanks for being here. I love it when people are growing flowers and food. And both of my children were born in the Puyallup Valley, and I remember that was 30 and 35 years ago. And it used to be so many berry fields and tulip and daffodil farms down there. And it's just really, it makes me happy that you're all doing what you do. Thank you.
I'm going to give the floor to my husband, Donald Graham, and he will speak on behalf of both of us.
I'm Don Graham, and my wife Astrid here. And we have Astrid's Lavender Farm up in Gig Harbor. And it's at the farthest reaches of Gig Harbor, so it's right out by Keith Center. And we're about 2.5 years old, we're just entering our 3rd season. And with the help of Ali and Paul Bourne and Conservation District, oil testing and equipment rental, moral support, we got it. But anyway, so we have 10 acres, we have about 2 acres right now in lavender. We started with 500 plants the first year, and they got carried away and put 3,000 more in. And I know it's great. Last year we had some nice crop. The thing is, though, lavender takes 3 years to mature. So this year we're looking at these 3,000 plants all boom. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with all these flowers. We have been doing a lot with we've been actually practicing the last couple of years in cutting the flowers and debudding and make lots of products. And that's created all sorts of different neck wraps and sachets, and we've done lavender essential oil and hydrosol spray and a bunch of things. But when it comes down to it, there's 3,000 plants that you have to keep. We have a lot of flowers coming. So that's what we're kind of here to see what we can do with that. And our additional crop that we come, and good. Our challenge now is how are we going to handle all those little guys coming out there? Anyway, so it's still in development, but we're still learning and we're still trying to reach out and meet people in the community. Getting some help from some Girl Scout crews. We're coming out there, gonna make some trails through our woods. It's around the lavender so that people can walk through the woods and then go have the lavender experience and also go to the woods. Anyway, Invite you all out anytime.
I'm Denise, I'm here. Oh my gosh. I own Simple Goodness Sisters Farm and Soda Shop and a couple other things. And we do herbs and edible flowers. We have 10 acres in Buckley. And we have a lot of, so we grow differently because we grow for edibles. So we have a commercial kitchen and we process all of our flowers for edible uses. We make a simple syrup that is flavored a lot of, we use floral flavors for our simple syrups and they make drinks and cocktails. We open a tasting room, but I still don't use even close to as much. Olivia works with me, even close to as much as what we grow. So it doesn't have to be edible. We make so all like calendula, lavender, sage, rosemary, so much rosemary. We've been doing it for about 5 years now. So I have rosemary. And we wrote a book, and it's called Drink Your Garden, and it's all about how you can use cocktail or herbs and edible flowers in cocktails. And that's kind of our very, very, very niche program that we have. And it comes out in March, so.
If you haven't visited, you need to go to the soda shop. So, it's delicious.
I'm Olivia. I've worked for Venice for almost 4 years now. We have 3.5 acres in South Prairie that we're in the process of figuring out what we want to do with. So this is kind of an inspiration and learning opportunity for me today.
Kelly, and I grow for joy and beauty and as my attempt to help save the world, I guess. And I'm here just to figure out better ways to do that and connect and make that a bigger reality in my life.
Hi, my name's Evan. I'm a local grower in Pierce County. I've grown in so many different areas, and I've recently moved to Graham to grow veggies and flowers, maybe eggs and wheat. I don't know yet. But I got interested in flowers with my friend Claire back in 2020, and I have been intrigued ever since. And I want to continue growing with folks, and this is a great networking opportunity. And I've already written down some people I want to chat with. Watch out, I'm extra.
Hi, my name's Holly. We're actually from Arlington, Washington, so Snohomish County. But Snohomish County Conservation recommended this workshop for us to come down. So we're on a little field trip, me and Becky. So we have 5-acre farm up in Arlington. Like I said, we grow on 1/2 acre. We're building out another 1/2 acre. We built all culture beds. So it does take a lot of time to make them, but they're good for a couple years. Just some simple amending, like every year, a little compost, a little fresh soil on the top. But we were growing kind of like everything last year, everything. It was one of those like, let's just try it all. It's a lot of work. We also use the Swift lockers. They are awesome. You have to just invest in the big Swift lockers. Seriously, just do it. And we are wanting to do a lot of rain catch off like a big barn. We want to implement a lot of other conservation efforts, do solar, also do a lot of native planting, a lot of pollinator planting, a lot of keep some of our backfields for like native prairie grasses and things like that. So yeah, we're just we want to kind of break into some subscriptions this year. We're kind of trial running a lot of that. We do like wholesale, we do florists, but again, yeah, you have so many blooms. You know, what are you going to do with all of them? So we're doing a lot of R&D this year, making some different cool products other than just bouquets, and then just really focusing a lot on infrastructure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Becky and I am Holly's sales director. So like she said, we're doing subscriptions, we're testing that out. We've been selling wholesale and also florists, but it's hard to get into florists. And also wedding planners, because they kind of have their own niche where they're like, I don't want to change. So I'm trying to get more information on how I can get in there. But yeah, we've got a lot of paring back on what we've been selling is going to be very beneficial. So we'll be selling more. And that's one of the things I had found where if we only had a certain amount of flowers, wholesale and florists were like, that's great, but I need more of it. So going from 65 different kinds of flowers to 25 and then having half an acre for just dahlias, then that seems to be better for us. So yeah, and this is going to be our first really full year. And then last year we were dabbling. So we're excited.
I'm Daphne and I'm with Lake Bay Farm and Nursery, and I grow hoodies and perennials and annuals and produce and trees and about anything I can see. So I have 3 acres. I have 3 acres. Lake Bay is on the Key Peninsula, past Big Harbor, and this is my first year where I have some land cleared finally. I've been growing in pots for years because I took a long time to get through the county to get everything cleared out that I wanted to. So I'm new.
That's great. So I'm also from Lake Bay and I've seen you on Instagram, but I don't have a face to go with the name. So I'm Tidra. I'm with my husband and I actually have 2 Fox Winery. And so we've been building that up the last few years, but part of my deal of doing that was I also wanted to have a little flower farm. So I've been putting in infrastructure and everything the last few years and started doing cut flowers or mixed bouquets last year and selling them out of our tasting room. Turns out it's a lot easier to sell wine than yeah. So I'm looking to have a little stand that people can come to when the tasting room is closed in case they don't want wine. Also, to have like bloom bars or bouquet bars on the weekend, so if people who come would have their glass of wine as well as take home a bouquet. Hopefully you pick. Turns out insurance doesn't really like alcohol and snips together. Kind of slowly increasing my production, seeing what the community wants. But trying to do most of my sales from our property.
I'm Kyle, one from 2 Fox maintenance and.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing all that. It's all here and have jump into our panel. Now we're gonna have you all do the same introduction and so yeah, our first question is just if you could share the story of your business and then how it's evolved over the years. And some of you have a long history, but give it to us. Do it all. We want to hear it all. And so yeah. Oh, and then yeah, maybe first before we do that, let's go ahead and just go down with a quick introduction of your name and if you're a florist or farmer, and then we'll come back to Sarah and
Okay. I'm Sarah Howard. I'm a florist and a farmer and a lot of other things, but for today, those apply.
I am Lee and I own Lovely Blooms Floral Design, and I'm a wedding and event florist with a backyard Tacoma small garden for my own happiness, not for selling.
Good job.
Yeah.
Sherry Pogatai. My company's White Glove Pink Apron, and I'm a florist and also a gardener. I have about 1/3 of an acre. Well, half of that is planted, but I do wedding event and I do everyday flowers. So I'm all day, every day.
My name is Jody Logue. I live in Olalla, down the street from Becky. I have a flower farm and I've been farming for about 5 years. I think this will be year 5. I'm very bad at math. And also last year started West Sound Floral Exchange to get more of my flowers and my friends' flowers out into the world. So
Claire McCahill from LB Washington. I am Energy Farm on Instagram if you're into that sort of thing. And yeah, I do a little farming, do a little floristry and many other things like Sarah and many of us in this room, I'm sure.
You also need to get Amy. She's got
I'm hiding. My name is Amy Linhart. I am with Humminghammer's Farm. We are on 10 acres, but I cultivate about 1 acre.
mostly do grocery sales, but got to sell with West End Floral Exchange. I'm also part of the Flower Farmer Guild, which is really fun. There's just so many awesome communities of awesome growers in the area, so enjoyed that. And I also love teaching, so I do workshops and I'm getting into dried flowers more, so that's me.
Amy's gonna help facilitate panel discussions either. All
right, we'll get right into it then. So story of my business and how it's evolved over the years. So I was born almost 40 years ago to two people who were starting a greenhouse business on my great grandpa's farm that was a dairy farm before he bought it in 52. And now we have what's left of the farm is about 75 acres. And in addition to my parents' wholesale nursery, which is about 7 acres of it, we have cattle and hay and blueberries and what else? My kids' FFA projects, which involve poultry and a couple of dairy cows. And my husband and I broker tree seedlings by the tens of thousands. And just for fun, my older brother, in about 2016 or so, said, hey, we should grow flowers. Because my mom, who is also an ag teacher and has taught floral design over the years and has been doing flowers since before I was born. And I now, because it's the family business, I do it too. He said, we should grow some flowers. People like to pay for flowers. They don't like to pay for food. So yeah, I was growing tomatoes at the time, and I still love to grow tomatoes. But we put over about 3 or 4 years, we put in about 600 or so peonies, and so we have those, and we've grown the dahlia count to about 350. That's enough for me. That's enough. And I would say that the flower business, the flower growing business, takes up like an acre roughly, but there's nothing that's really off limits when you're doing floral design. We have stock plants out in the field for growing things like redwood, dogwood, and Pacific willow, and snowberry, and ninebark. And as long as my dad doesn't need it for propagation, it is fair game. And sometimes even if he does need it for propagation, it might still be fair game. And then, the blueberries, we're pruning blueberries right now, and they make a fantastic addition to all kinds of arrangements, even wreaths. We teach wreath making in our greenhouse, one of our greenhouses. In the winter after Thanksgiving, we have do-it-yourself workshops every day for about 2-3 weeks. So
What city did you say?
so we're out in Eatonville.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just north of Eatonville, a few miles, and there's a viewpoint to Mount Rainier called Dogwood Park, and that looks at our family farm. So we have a lot going on, and like I said, it's really evolved. We used to do poinsettias. My parents did. We grow poinsettias. That's the kind of thing. I remember the hazard signs that go up on the greenhouse doors after you spray. We used to joke that the poinsettias weren't nearly as poisonous as what we had to put on them to keep the bugs from eating them before we could get them to customers. And obviously we don't do those anymore. It's primarily wholesale, native trees and shrubs. So, and I brought some of that with me today. So yeah, we do weddings, all kinds of stuff, but there's not really anyone that I won't sell to, and there's not really anyone I won't buy from. So gotta be flexible.
Sarah, what's the name of your farm?
Okay, so the nursery is Eatonville Nursery. On social media, on Facebook, it's Sarah's Garden. And the licensed name of the state is Mountain Home Peonies, which was not my idea.
Okay, so my name's Lee with Lovely Blooms, and my business started because one friend said, I'm gonna be in this wedding. She asked if I do the flowers. Do you want to help? And then she told me to make an Instagram, and it just spiraled from there. That was in January. The wedding was supposed to be in August of 2021, and then friends I don't even know what they shared. I was buying flowers at Trader Joe's and making bouquets, taking them apart, posting a new picture, taking it apart, posting a new picture. And friends were like, you should sell Valentine's Day flowers. So literally I made my Instagram in January. Valentine's Day is February 14th. And I had 29 orders with no set pricing, no recipe. It was pure chaos. This was my first Valentine's that I didn't do my own, and I just worked for Kristen, and it was glorious. And I left the mess at her house. But that spiraled into, do you do weddings? And my magic plan was a 5-year goal to quit my job. I did marketing for a commercial real estate company. And then I quit my job in June of 2022. So I've been doing mostly weddings since then. I average like 40 weddings a year. And I love buying local. That also just happened from Instagram and meeting different people, and they would sell to me, and it's way more fun to like know who you're buying from than the wholesaler that's like from a different, like not even from here, and you're not supporting your local economy and all of that. So they're also way fresher. So it all is social media, and because one friend asked me to help.
And you're good at marketing.
Thanks.
Very good.
I think that covers everything. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I've been a gardener for years and years, so I've always had flowers and arranged flowers and had them at home. I'm also an RN and had been mostly doing nursing. And then when COVID hit, I'd already been doing arrangements of weddings and stuff like that. Then when COVID hit, I wasn't able to go into the nursing homes to do some of the private care I'd been doing. And right then I was able to get some coolers. So I thought, oh, well, here we go. And so everything just sort of abruptly switched over, and I stay really busy, which is great. So I love doing floral. I do custom, all the time. So it's really relational based, based on what specific people want. I mean, at this point, I'm an omni sourcer. So I get flowers from wherever I can. So I buy flown, I buy grown, and I of course, love getting local, except I also need to make big giant bouquets in November and December. So, I mean, I get wherever I can, but I love amazing product. So, that's what I do. And again, I grow from home, but I don't have volume. So I still need to, I'll go out and snip here and there, but I mostly need to buy in bulk. So another thing I do is I care a lot about making connections and helping people kind of get where they want to go. So I've been helping with form and be with the Gig Harbor Flower Farmers Guild. So I mean, it's a young organization. We started in 2022, but I mean, we're about expanding and making floral connections with growers. So partly, I mean, a big part is just connecting and being together. And it's also finding outlets for selling. So, and I don't see anyone from Washington Floral here right now. But I just want to throw out, there's a meeting next Wednesday at noon. Washington Floral they've been kind of interested in local, but it's been hit and miss over the years, as many of you know. They want to go full on at this. So they are planning, doing Sunday markets. Starting this growing season, they want to build their local farmer base. So I'm kind of plugging for them. I'll be going to that meeting to find out. So, how's this going to happen really? But they're going to do 10 to 2 Sunday markets. They want local growers. They want local farmers. And I think what they're aiming for is, that a similar situation to Seattle Wholesale Growers Market in Seattle, which I shop often. Connected with Mayash, it's next door to Mayash, not connected, but I mean, it's a great source for me because you can get local and, get flown. But I just want to throw that out there, and I'll be looking into that. So I think making connections, that could potentially be a great way to connect, growers plus florists. And Sunday is not a convenient day, which they know, but the other thing they know is brick and mortar shop florists want to buy on Sunday. And I know in our Gig Harbor, in our Flower Farmers Guild, we've been looking more at event florists who tend to buy earlier in the week, but shop florists need all their stuff in the shop on Monday. So, I mean, growers who want to tap into the everyday, it's huge, you know, the everyday floral market, this could be a ticket. So now I've kind of gone on and on, but
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I got a call this morning from them. If anyone wants to be like contacted by them, let us know and we'll give their name or your name to them.
My name is Jody. I started my farm while I was still working as a nurse. I started an MBA program, but it was so boring. So I decided I'm gonna farm instead. So, you know, I didn't actually intend to start farming, but you know, seed catalogs start coming once you take the class, and then you have more seeds than you have space for, and then your husband plows up a field for you, and it just snowballs. So, but I love it, and I was able to quit my job. It's almost 2 years now since I quit my nursing job, and I wish I could have done it sooner and just farmed. Like, it's been so life-giving. But I quickly realized it's really hard to sell flowers, like y'all realized. And I also realized when I was quitting my job that I didn't really have any friends. So I started inviting people from Instagram that I found in the area that grew flowers, and we started doing pie and coffee nights just to get to know each other and swap seeds and do fun things. And out of that, just group and conversation, talking to people, realized that everybody's having trouble selling flowers. So we talked about different options of working together to sell more. And the West Sound Floral Exchange was formed because of that. So I'm still primarily farming. And really the goal with West Sound Floral is to move more flowers in the county. We're not necessarily trying to compete with Washington Floral or Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, but there's a market for local flowers. We just need to make it more convenient for people to get them. So I think some of the other questions, I won't talk too much more about that, but yeah, so it's been really fun to do the exchange. This last year was our first year, so this is the beginning of season 2. Learned a lot of lessons, but it actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. Oh yeah, so if you've ever seen like an online food hub, that's kind of the idea, but it's an online flower hub. So instead of people having to receive Excel spreadsheets or lists of flowers with prices that they then have to extrapolate what they might maybe look like, the idea is florists can log on to the website and shop real pictures from our fields of our actual flowers that we're growing and selling this week. Farmers list their products on Fridays and Saturdays, and then florists or event planners or anybody else really could shop Sundays and Mondays, which eventually I'd like to have it open more, but then the shop closes for the rest of the week so that farmers can harvest and prep their sales. And then I drive we have a little flower bus around to pick up flowers, and then I take them directly to the florist so that there's no, you know, sitting in a cooler or, you know, hanging around. And we don't do consignment. Like, I'm not picking up flowers that maybe might sell that I then have to deal with later. Like, I'm only picking up stuff that sold and taking it to who bought it. So,
Do you only do that in Pierce County?
well, we're changing a few things this year, so that we can have more customers that are further away. I'd really like to get down to Olympia and Tacoma, and there's a gal out in Shelton who would like local flowers too. Last year we were limited by the number of pickups I had to do. So some days I have like 10 or 12 farms to pick up for, because I was picking up directly from farms, but realized if we could do some pickup hubs, then I can finish pickups quicker and get to more people for delivery. So I have a large walk-in cooler, not the largest, but the goal is just not to bring them home and have to handle them and fuss with them and knock them around, but really just get them there as quickly, as perfectly, and as pristinely as possible. So, yeah. So hopefully this year with some little tweaks, we can get to even more customers and just move more flowers. So, but really the idea was our small farms in Kitsap, and Pierce County, like nobody has huge properties in Kitsap and Pierce or like the Gig Harbor area. So nobody can really be a big enough farm to supply the volume that a florist needs. So if we sell together and your agrostemma and my agrostemma, you know, there's enough to meet the need. So no one farm has to do it all. and we can kind of share the load of providing the volume that florists need. So, yeah. Being from LB, Claire again, I am not super close to all of these wonderful groups that are popping up, but maybe I could drive to a hub. That's very exciting. I come to flower farming by way of permaculture. I've been in LB for about 10 years and maybe 11, close to 11. My husband and I moved from the East Coast and bought about 100 acres on the Nisqually River, which had been logged in the 40s and never really replanted. We've been working ever since to sort of restore the land and feed ourselves. And then in 2020, I had a friend who's a vegetable farmer up the road, who had lots of customers who needed a little happiness in addition to their nutrients, and said, "Hey, you're growing flowers already. Why don't you sell them?" Because I was growing them for my own happiness. And so I sort of inherited a customer list of 25 people and did a CSA my first year. Things have evolved a little bit from there, mostly to embody my own plant nerdiness, and real super focus on sustainability and hyper local abundance. So I'm interested in things like dahlias, of course, and my collection is large, but I'm also interested in things like 30-year-old alder treetops, which is what I brought to share. With 100 acres, we have a lot of stuff happening all the time. Most of our property is wooded, and I come to floristry from sort of a contemplative place. And I see it as a way to really connect with place and time. And so I'm really committed to only using what I grow myself. So I do some weddings and small events in addition to, I've got 4 seasons now, 4 seasons CSA. But you have to be okay with whatever it is that's blooming. And that might not be a flower if you're getting married in December. But I really, really believe that the Pacific Northwest has some of the most beautiful, wild things. And I'm really passionate about sharing that. And I'm super interested in working with florists who are maybe interested in what else there is besides baby's breath or what have you. My specialty is kind of like fiddly bits and weirdos. I love a seed pod. I love a catkin. But I really, really just love people who are passionate about what they love. And so if you're also into weirdos and want to promote them, then that's probably like the best reason to get in touch with me. But we also planted 5 unique pollinator hedges last fall with the help of the Forest Conservation District. So I will have examples growing at my place of all of the flower farmer templates. So if you'd like to see those as they grow and mature, and then eventually if you'd like to buy some things that I cut from them, everything's kind of at the beginning stages of something that's going to continue to be very, very seasonally driven, very, very local. And yeah, really not a white rose type situation ever. So, yeah.
All right, so next question, y'all already talked about how your businesses have evolved, but if y'all can dive into how your relationship with, if you're a farmer with a florist or multiple florists, or if you're a florist with farmers, kind of how that budded, you can use a fun floral analogy, and then how it's maybe evolved over time.
All right, so I mentioned those almost 700 peonies, and when they'll bloom, walk-in cooler or not, you have flowers coming over, you're gonna have expensive compost. So, you know, push comes to shove and you just start calling people, hey, I got flowers. And I've taken buckets of, you know, they want to see what we have. So in that case, you don't take buds, which is what we normally harvest. We take stuff that's in bloom to florists. I'll take them $100 worth of flowers and be like this, you know, here, take this, keep it, play with it, call me if you want more. And some of those relationships have been great, and some of them I never heard from again. And you know, you find your people. So yeah, I just start calling people. I think Knudsen Farms and Windmill Gardens and places like that have probably been the best. And some of the other florists I've worked with, I think one of them, they were in Eatonville. They were trying to make a go of being a florist in Eatonville. A brick and mortar florist in Eatonville. That didn't go well. But while she was there, she bought a lot of stuff. And yeah, you just have to, like I said, be flexible. And so at this point, I sell to a handful of florists, and then there's some farmer florists near me that I already knew because it's Eatonville and they buy from me because, it's, hey, Sarah, we're doing this wedding. I need 150 pink peonies. And like, I got you. Yeah, it's July. They're in the cooler. They're great. Come and get them. And yeah, even the do-it-yourself brides, they show up too. So, yeah.
Yeah. I realized I kind of answered this earlier with social media, but just like finding somebody who likes flowers and is into flowers and then learning they grow and then they have a friend and like, I feel like I know like a quarter or third of you guys here because of social media originally. So in the Gig Harbor Flower Farmers Guild, remind me the name of yours.
West Sound.
West Sound Florals, Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, just so many different avenues for like meeting different people. And I'm like Sherry, where I do weddings all year, so I do have to get stuff that's not, well, I don't have to,
Yeah, you don't have to.
but different clients than you, where,
They like white roses.
yeah. But yeah, just like, I don't have this, but this person is really great, and I also have the luxury of being able to drive around and go to farm, so that's a big piece where like your situation with the bus and hubs and the Flower Farmers Guild and Gig Harbor having a spot is super great, because then it's like one stop instead of 4 different stops throughout the day. But yeah, honestly, I walked past your house, bought flowers past like on the trail. I just talk to a lot of people and then I find flowers.
Similar answer that, which is Instagram, just finding people, and I think that's the start of it. Relationship evolves, making connections, helping with the guild, and doing things like this.
I think I answered it a little bit too. But as a farmer, I took buckets and buckets to florists and realized really quickly a lot of the brick and mortar shops didn't want the fiddly, pretty, delicate foo-foo stuff that I was growing. They wanted more, lilies and carnations and baby's breath and roses and kind of alstroemeria, which you can't grow around here, actually. It's very cool, locally grown, very cool. So much better than the stuff in the fridge at the wholesale. But I just realized like they don't have time to come get stuff from me. They don't have time to like get a little bit from me and a little bit from somebody else and a little bit from somebody else. They really like their delivery. They like to just buy it. They like to have standing orders and it just shows up at their shop. And so that was kind of partly what informed the model that we're using for West Sound Floral Exchange. I just knew like if we wanted people to buy local stuff, we needed to make it convenient. Otherwise it would be an uphill battle the whole way. So, and even as West Sound Floral Exchange, I've taken buckets to florists, and there's people I have given so many free flowers to and they have never responded ever. And then there's other people who we got them hooked and now they're customers. So not everybody wants what you have, and I think that's fine. So yeah, just keep trying, keep giving away flowers, keep showing up with your best stuff, and don't take it personal, I guess is kind of what I've learned for myself. But yeah, I love working with local florists. We have some people that kind of like the same things over and over again. And then we have 2 florists who are so whimsical and they want something totally different every time. And you just never know. And their designs are always changing, which is fun because, as farmers, we grow some weird stuff. Like if it's new and it's weird, like we want to grow and try it. So yeah, it's been fun to find different kinds of customers. And I'm really hoping with the exchange this year, we can expand to a little bit more brick and mortar florists, because our main customer group has been more of the event florists. But last year when we started, none of us had planned or grown or like bought seeds and bulbs for the exchange. We just were selling what we had and it went really well. So this year we're all those of us who did it last year and are doing it again this year are being a little bit more intentional to grow the crops that sold the best and were asked for, and maybe we didn't have enough of, and they would have bought more if we had it. So it'll be interesting to see how the year goes, but hoping to get more consistent brick and mortar, maybe grocery, a grocery account or two would be really great. So
I have tried the bucket thing too, with the very, very few brick and mortar florists I have access to around. It's worked well enough, but I still had to drive 30 miles round trip to get there. So that being the case, I really am trying to stay in my lane and not wear myself out. I don't want to be closing my business because the passion evaporated. I've been there before, as I'm sure many of us have. And so also not being an Instagram person and a really heavily online person, I'm sort of caught between like this real strong desire to share all of this beautiful stuff, not being a great photographer, not really having a design background. So the idea of finding some people who are interested in elevating the ingredients I have is sort of what I'm looking for in partnering with florists. I do small events. You have to be getting married basically on the mountain for me to do your wedding, or if you're Evan. But that's really nice. And it's been plenty for me to fill my calendar with people who are just gonna be right there. But I think that a lot of people who get married in Washington State are interested in the beauty of the wild that's very close to Mount Rainier, regardless of what the venue is. So for the sort of Pacific Northwest florist and or event and or couple getting married, I think I have a lot to offer. Sometimes in huge quantities. That's another sort of problem for me, is I have a desire to grow one of everything, and I do, and that's great. But then when someone has a big order, wants to cover an arch in one thing, I might not have it. So finding a balance there has been a challenge. And I'm also in a position where I've got a ton of space. And so if somebody says like, you have the best, whatever, you only have 5 stems, can you grow more of it? The answer is probably going to be yes. So I'm really interested in long-term, sustainable, slow kind of relationships that can play out over the course of seasons, not weeks. So yeah. Hopefully more florists in my life. You're invited.
As a florist, and being more into doing, like interior, working with interior designers to do these photo shoots, like they've completed this project. Now they're getting a whole photo shoot done of these interiors, this house, this home. Like I'm doing one up in Kirkland next week. It's like a 3-day project. But like, we're looking for ideally locally sourced things. That's what I'm always looking for. And like you're saying, to elevate those locally sourced ingredients, no matter what the season is and what it's offering. But like, even just, you know, like you're saying, like the funny, weird stuff where like the branch tops, like I'm looking for huge branches, like going this massive entryway. Like,
You really need to come to that.
like that. You're in Olympia. You're edge of Eatonville,
Okay.
Graham. We have an email address.
All right.
I'm doing this.
This is exactly the sort of stuff I'm talking about. And these things that can maybe not open up into a huge bloom, but are gonna last for maybe a month in a vase. I mean, this alder that I brought is so stunning. I cut some before the new year and it's been on my porch ever since without water, and it looks almost fresh. And you can cut the bottom off and it'll still drink water. And so trees in that way are amazing. But then how do you take a huge top of a tree or a big curvy branch of 9 bark or something? You can't take that stuff to a wholesaler. And I have a lot of things that are good for larger installations that you can't really put in a bucket. But you really need to be out there because, oh man, the beauty.
Yeah, it's huge. And like anything you can get in bulk too is huge for that. But I think also, and like this is a workshop idea I have in my mind, but just the mechanics for florists and like working with things that aren't flower foam or, you know, things like that would be big too. Because you can do a huge installation with branches as your base, things like that. So
I have a lot of moss. I
And
do
moss,
not
yeah.
use floral foam myself, and am working toward being completely zero waste event
Yeah.
florist. But I do have moss. I only harvest it sustainably. It's part of having 100 acres. Trees are coming down all the time.
Yeah.
So if you like lichen or twigs, that kind of thing, things that are not flowers, and again, things that don't go in a bucket, I may well have it and really like to share that stuff.
Yeah, so delving more into the flower farmer and florist relationship, what have you noticed that works well when flower farmers and florists work together directly versus working with a wholesaler, and what are the challenges?
Okay, so communication, number one. If I'm working with a florist, I just, tell me what colors you're looking for and, how long do you need stems to be? Do you not want long stems? I mean, there are times when I need stuff from the wholesale house and I've worked with the staff there for a long time and I'll shoot them an email that says, hey, I need flowers for this. They don't even need stems, okay? Like they could be on their last leg, just, being really, really upfront with what you're looking for. And being flexible and being ready to pivot. And, florists have an expectation if they've ever worked with, most florists have worked primarily, we'll say, with getting flowers wholesale. And they have an expectation of what flowers look like when they receive them. So making sure that, you've harvested them correctly and that you've gotten them into a cooler and that they're getting, flower conditioner in the water if that's what that particular species needs, to make sure that you have a really fantastic product for florists. That's what keeps them coming back when they get that product and their customers are happy with it. So.
From a florist point of view, I like and think this works great when I feel like when you're working with the farmer, they care more and you want the product to look amazing and last and ask questions like, if that flops on you, let me know, because I want to replace it. I'll condition it differently next time. All those things that are like the customer service, you care versus, well, this is what you order, this is what you get kind of thing, which happens, anywhere. But I think the passion is what helps the relationship work so well. With working with different couples all throughout the year, my challenge is that I do have the baby's breath white rose girl who needs them in December, and that I'm gonna get them for.
Baby's breath and blue roses.
I say no to those. You say no. I say I might not be the right fit for you.
Same.
But so the challenge or benefit of the wholesaler that does fly in blooms is that I can get things year round. But working on educating and trying to promote seasonal blooms and trying to find that ideal client who will let me pick a whole palette so I can just tell you I need oranges, peaches, pinks versus I need this exact shade or that works well for me with farmers is giving a palette and buying local and seasonal. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's all about the product. So I think that's the local flowers are just the products, amazing and it's really well worth it. The challenges are, as already been mentioned, the volume, you just need bulk. And then sometimes my style is more lush and, big flowers. So, a lot of times I need the kind of flowers that cover some ground. So roses, peonies, so market bouquets with more wispy items. I use them a little bit, but mostly I need flowers that cover ground. So I think that's been a challenge with buying local. When I look at availability lists, it's I need big head things. So and wispy, I love wispy too, but I think that's definitely it's a little bit of a challenge for me just when, for buying local. But other than that, I think the product is amazing and local is always better. So.
It's been fun through the exchange and even just as a farmer to introduce florists and event planners to some of the cool stuff that we grow that they wouldn't see at Washington Floral or any of the other not local places. I think, yeah, a lot of times people know what they want when they come to us for flowers, but it's really cool when a florist says, well, I have a citrusy palette and I need, some round things and I need some linear things. And what do you have? And then you get to tell them, oh, let me show you this really cool thing that we're growing. And just introduce them to new varieties or new weird stuff or stuff that we've been growing forever that we haven't quite been able to get people hooked on. And yeah, last year there was a florist who wanted some blue stuff, and that time of year there wasn't a lot of blue, but one of our farmers had some really great blue Didiscus, and then she ordered it every week it was available and bought as much as she could. So it was really fun to get her hooked on a new plant and then have her come back at the end of the season and ask, does it come in other colors? You know, and just teach them that there's more out there than the boring stuff you see in a cooler at a wholesale place. So, but too, there's a lot of learning that's happened for all of us farmers in exchange this last year to teach all of us, me included, like stem length is important, but I mean, florists can use shorter things if it's harvested at the right stage and it's been conditioned properly and they know what they're getting. Like if they know what they're getting, if they're expecting long stems, they get short stems, they're going to be disappointed. But if they know that it's a shorter stem, but it's fantastic and this anemone is huge, like they're going to love it anyways. So a lot of it is communication, transparency about what you have. And then also people have to take a risk on us as farmers, I think, to buy from us if they're using them professionally. So if they take a risk, we want to blow them away and just show them we have exceptional product and it's going to hold up better. It's going to work better. Their ranunculus heads aren't going to flop and just prove that what they're getting locally is far superior to stuff that's been on a poor plane in a box with no water for a week and convince them that it's worth buying local. Yeah, so it's been fun to convert some people to local flowers, and I hope we can do more of it this year. So.
I don't really have anything to add about this, but I will say if you are a grower and interested in selling to a wholesaler or florist, I highly recommend the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market Standards book. So good. It's so good. It's exhaustive. It covers a ton of different species. It has a lot of different information about when to harvest, how to store it, does it need water or sugar or whatever. So it's $80 or something. It's an investment, but it's fully worth it.
I have the ASCFG's version of that book, but it's a little bit older. It's a little bit more scientific.
Doesn't have as many varieties.
Doesn't have as many varieties, and it is geared towards large, massive scale growers, people who have like those magical machines that infuse silver into the water. I don't really know, but we don't have that. We can't do that. So that ASCFG book wasn't quite as helpful to me as I had hoped it would be. So I feel like the Seattle Wholesale Growers book really filled in the gaps and made it more accessible from a local small scale grower perspective. So buy it. You can get it on the website.
Will you say it? What was the name of it again?
The Seattle Wholesale Growers Market Standards.
If you just go to their
Booklet or
website,
something
there's
like
like a heading that says buy our book or something.
Yeah, I don't think they have a big.
I just flipped through it like 2 days ago. It's really good.
Yeah.
The website for Washington Wholesale.
For Seattle Wholesale Growers Market.
Really growers and really good.
Yeah.
That's the one I go to a lot. I'll go to Mayor's too, but growers market, Kristen's are like my big go-tos for local seasonal stuff. And I think, yeah, like you were saying about freshness, that's like a huge thing for a wedding florist. Because you're picking your order up on a Wednesday, but your wedding's not till Saturday. You need those flowers to last all the way through that event and look amazing for all their photos and everything. So yeah, I would say quality and just like the condition of the plants is a huge thing. And I've bought things from Mayesh or another growers market and it was like wrapped in plastic. And then you get it home, take the plastic off and like underneath it's all molded and everything. And I know there's been multiple times where I've been like, you know, head in a bucket, getting all these like blessing flowers out. Their policy is like within 24 hours, you're supposed to like send them a picture or something to get a refund for this. And there's been like, multiple times where I've like missed that window. And so it's like, I, you know, couldn't use this $50 bunch of roses or whatever it was, really expensive. I couldn't use any of it. So I had, you know, use less of it or figure it out. But condition and quality is definitely going to be a huge thing when you're selling to florists, especially any florist, but a bend florist, like wedding florist, that'll be a huge thing for you too. And it'll just depend on their style as to what they're looking for. And every vintage wedding is going to be different. Like every single one of my weddings has probably sort of a similar look, but the ingredients are gonna change every single time and across the seasons. But so I love like the big stuff, the little wispy stuff. She says I like to pick her weeds.
Yes, I was just gonna say, I love Fiona, that's a patch of weeds. I love that.
So, yeah, it'll depend on like what you're growing and who you're gonna attract is the type, just like their kind of style and what they're looking for, depending on that event too.
Our next two questions were still around barriers and adjustments to working more directly together, but maybe we've kind of covered that. Do you have anything else you could move on to? We wanted to know if there were sourcing gaps during the year that could be addressed by working with farmers more directly. I think they can't get.
I think knowing your farmers and as a farmer communicating with florists, you know, a big thing is knowing what you have. Florists don't, I mean, you know, when I work with either, you know, Washington Wholesale or florist or whatever, they don't like to ask, well, do you have this? Do you have this? Make a list, you know your inventory, know what you've got in your field that you can cut, know what you've got in your cooler that's already cut. And you'd be surprised at how many gaps you can fill, when you just know what you have and when they know what you have. Another one is, knowing your storage. We harvest peonies from May to June and sell them through August. So being able to have access to a cooler, that fills a big gap too. Yeah.
Do florists want to see a picture of what we have?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I've had this with both wholesale and direct to florists, asking, do you have this color? And I'll just, snap a picture and send it via text or like dark dahlias, like, well, how dark do you want? And okay, what shape do you want? Because dark red dahlias can be a lot of things. So.
I think the availability list is so important too, because I may go to you with only needing one bunch of anemones, but let's say your harvest was plentiful and you've got 10 bunches. I'll probably swoop in and grab all of them from you. So our recipes we're designers, right? Our recipes are built in stone. We love to be able to just at the event what else we're grabbing.
And people who love flowers, are real suckers for impulse buys. If they ordered an enemy and you show up with the most beautiful, juicy ranunculus in the world, they're gonna buy those to you.
And I mean, if you've ever done marketing on social media, you know that when you have a picture of what you have for sale, it will sell way more often than if you don't have a picture. And with anything, if there's a picture, you'll have more engagement.
Yeah.
So, those things that are kind of weird or kind of twiggy or wispy or whatever, include a picture. Make something, arrange something so they can see it in use. And that helps a lot too.
I don't know if a lot of designers have seen that. I'm very visual, so if I can see a picture and I can see what it is that you're talking about, I'm like, oh yeah, I can picture it in this and this and all over the place. But yeah, if it's just in a list and it's just in a list form, it doesn't really speak to me a whole lot. So I would say pictures are huge. Cool.
And it helps with shades because sometimes the name is misleading. You're calling that peach? And that's hot pink. And my client won't be okay with that sort of thing to see. Yeah.
We tell brides particularly, if you want a certain color, get a box of Crayolas, get me the names of those crayons that I'm working with. Cause I can go to another box of crayons and pull the same thing up. And that works well. Another thing for going back to the sourcing gaps, Claire has stuff year round, right? And so when we include pictures, of twigs, you can buy twigs at the wholesale house. People pay good money for curly willow, and it's best in the winter. So like I said, if you know what you got and how to harvest it, you'd be surprised at what gaps you can fill seasonally.
Yeah, and just making it known, what you have. I did a wedding in January 1st, and it was 100 feet of garland. And I knew, Petals and Posies, she's out of Enumclaw, that she had a thing to make garland, and she had all the, I could buy it from her versus ordering it through the wholesaler.
Mhm.
So like making it evident, like in a weird winter month, what you do have to offer. And like even dried flowers. Do you have dried flowers from summer? That sort of thing, like letting us know.
What's your preference in terms of email lists or flash sales on Instagram or what's
Yeah.
I mean, I hate opening an email.
Right.
I hate
I mean, I feel like email's good. I guess this could be a barrier that I don't know how we'd change in terms of, aside from we have this plan to grow this, but I have to order for weddings like 2 months, a month out. So then I usually just give myself an extra, $500 and to go have fun money and buy the extra ranunculus that you have because they're pretty. But to like sustainably do a whole wedding local, like the process starts so early for it. I don't know if this is for you too, like as florists, where it's like, okay, I'd love to know, but I know we can't know when they'll exactly bloom. So I guess maybe it starts with educating our clients on availability and like what will come in. But I mean, email's great for like lists and photos and.
Yeah, well, I'm like making a quote or putting together a mood board for clients. The whole, like, I don't usually say, I'm gonna use this, and this way. It's within this palette and it, what I can get essentially out of this palette, but I'm not telling them that we're gonna specifically use these types. I might list out some, it's like, may include this, but not limited to, or some kind of wording like that. But it's not like I'm breaking down a specific floral recipe for them for every piece. So there's a lot of play in that. And like you said, I usually keep me back too to, if I see something that's really amazing that I love, that I know will work, I have that extra money that I can buy that. But my main quotes are put together like months in advance. So email's huge because like, yeah, when I'm sitting down and making all those things, that's where I'm at my computer looking at.
It's off season.
Yeah, all the things on my computer, so email lists would be really helpful, and any photos you can provide from even just like the last season of that project would probably be helpful too. And then Instagram is a huge thing, like we live in the Instagram and Pinterest world, it's like whether we like it or not, but that's a big tool as well, I thought.
Yeah, Sherry's done where she'll like reach out and say, does anyone have 100 stems of white dahlias? Cause you like know somebody looking or you're looking, where when there's like a group where then not as the florist, I'm messaging all these different farmers. But to be able to just say, I need this, can it be fulfilled? But it's always just like a group chat or a DM group or whatever.
I feel like I end up being kind of a flower concierge a little bit, where a florist will get in touch with me and ask for, was it 20 bunches of gem marigolds or something? Remember that one? Like super weird thing.
We had it.
Yeah. And there was this one wedding last year, she wanted like 200 stems of purple tomatoes and figs and like all this weird stuff. So I feel like a lot of times, especially for the really artsy fartsy designers, which I love, knowing what you have and be able to like scroll through your phone to last October or last November or whatever it was and find what was blooming and just have good records is really helpful. But I think some of it really will come down to education and educating florists. And if they're really committed to using local flowers, we can help them know what's seasonal and what to expect, but also not promise certain things. When I do my own weddings from the farm, I never promise a bride. Learn the hard way. Don't ever promise them blue tweedia. Just don't. Just don't. Trust me. Don't promise them anything. Just tell them we'll do blues and whites and it'll be great. But yeah, setting expectations appropriately, knowing what you grew last year, keeping good records. And even when it comes down to, selling current stuff, like keep a list of what's in your cooler so that you don't have to run out to your cooler and count stuff. Try to be organized. It's easier said than done when you're farming, but I've found a few little tips, like just having a whiteboard with a list of what's in my cooler, how many bunches has been a game changer, just so if somebody calls and be like, yes, I do have 9 bunches of yellow ranunculus or whatever. So,
And some, oh, go ahead.
I think, I mean, again, same, when I'm doing contracts, I do price point and palette. And, you know, we have a list of preferred flowers, but I always, you know, you put a disclaimer, you know, we'll do our best, but my motto is freshest and best, which I tell people up front. So it's like whatever's freshest and best is gonna take precedence over a specific, this is what we're doing. So, I go a step farther beside just the email. It's like, I like to hand shop. So, I mean, I actually personally don't prefer to pre-order. I like to like go shop and I like to go pull 20 bunches. I want to choose. I mean, it's the choosing that I love the best. So I think, and I resort to availability lists and pre-orders, you know, and I have so much volume. But I mean, what persuades me more than a picture even is the relationship. Like I've seen their cosmos, you know, and I know they're good. So I'm confident ordering, you know, 6 buckets of cosmos or, so I think just personally that I like things like this because getting to know people's product and who grows, you know, the most amazing thing I think is going to be a greater influence to what, you know, I personally buy. I read every availability list. I really do. I go through and even without pictures, I mean, I know what they are, but I also know from past experience, you know, wholesalers, it's like, yeah, we're not doing that again. So, yeah. Anyway.
So one, in regards to the trying to predict when you're gonna have stuff in bloom. I mentioned we have blueberries. We have 2 acres of you-pick blueberries, and we've been doing that for 10 years now. And so when people ask, well, when are you going to be open? I say, well, that depends. We've been open as early as the 1st of July. We've been open as late, and this opening day, the very end of July. And you know, the weather can put a full, you know, month difference from year to year in your crops. Now, the peonies, man, they're like the week after Mother's Day, pretty consistently. We never have peonies for Mother's Day. My mom might get the first one, but the floodgates don't open until about a week later. But we always write down, when did we open for blueberries? I always take pictures when the peonies start opening, so I can go back and I can see roughly when to expect. You know, the first ones are always going to be the reds and the corals. We know this. It's just, that's what we have planted. So, you know, if you've got a florist saying, hey, I've got a request for this wedding in, you know, the beginning of June and we need white peonies, I'm not going to promise them white peonies at the beginning of June. Be like, probably not, because our whites are late. They're going to be like the 3rd week of June, maybe. But again, you know, check back with me. I might have it, but you know, I don't, you know, don't make promises. Yeah. So like she said, keep good records. And once you've been in it for several years, you'll have a pretty good idea of when to expect your stuff to bloom.
I have a thought. I'm sitting here I'm thinking of like all the different places that florists could go to find the information. Like they could check out Gig Harbor Farm, you know, the collective. They could go to you guys. I'm thinking like it's kind of, I mean, I'm not a florist, so I'm not going to need to remember all this. But I'm thinking for customers, it can get pretty confusing thinking about all the different, like remembering all the different places or like, where did I have that information? And so I'm just brainstorming here, like, could there be a way to have like, just like a basic, like a landing page, some hosted website basically where, you know, you're looking for local flowers. Here are all the places you could link to. So just kind of trying to put everybody's information in one spot. And again, I don't know who would do that. I mean, maybe.
Floret does. Even if you're not a Floret graduate and you're a local flower farmer, you can register your farm on there because they're just trying to get the message of local flowers.
And it's free.
It's free. You don't have to pay. You can build a little profile and it will show up on their map. Slow Flower Society does the same thing. We have to be members. So you don't have to pay.
Same for ASCFG.
Same for
ASCFG. Fresh isn't that anymore, but they have a new.
Eat local first.
Eat local first. Yeah, get your stuff on there.
Yeah,
that's also free.
That's some way to just, I mean, get I mean, I haven't heard of any of those websites. I mean, obviously I've heard of it. Duh. But just also then figuring out like, I don't know, how to get that out into the more public consciousness. Anyway, it just seems like that would be helpful for, I don't know, general.
Like an
people.
availability list hub, because I feel like lots of these things like this, okay, this farm exists,
Yeah.
but like if you're looking for then do individual emails to all these farms, like, you know, that.
Yeah, and something, I mean, it's great that Florette does it, and I know it includes everything, but you know, she's up there, so, which doesn't mean it can't, but just if we're wanting to feel like the focus is more local, then having, yeah, just for example, like the PCD page, I'm just, because I've been going to an organization where it's like interested in buying local flowers, here are all these you know, you can contact all these places.
Could just be name, number, what you
Name, number,
specialize
website.
in. That's a really good
Yeah.
idea, Kelly.
And then you just, you know, whoever's hosting it gets that out there. Everybody passes word of mouth. So it's just more of a place where then, you know, someone can just go and remember it all. Cause I would forget everything probably. Anyway.
And I don't know how feasible it is for farmers to like invite florists to their farm, but I know seeing Kristen farm for the first time. And I just kept wanting to go back and like actually go through her fields and see what she had. Now I feel confident and like just feel picks up for me and I pick it up from her in a flower shed and she's not there or whatever, but having seen the farm, having know what she grows and the quality of stuff she has was super helpful too. So I don't know like what that looks like for different farmers and so it's different for everybody, but just inviting florists like to your farm too, I feel like could be cool, like good networking thing to do too.
Sorry, this is me just, anyway, I still just wanna like, I don't know, connect, but you know, I'm trying to figure out what my niche is gonna be. But my daughter and I go on the, through the WSU Extension office, there's the, like Chimicum area, Jefferson County Farm Tour every year. Up in, you know, so like Chimicum, Port Townsend, there's not a lot of flower growers there. It's mostly just food, but we love going on that tour. And it's basically just farms are just open. You can just go walk around. So something like that would be super cool.
Yeah.
So, you know, just like all the, you know, a driving tour, and the farms are open on a certain day, you know, you're there, you can talk to people.
Do you guys
and
do
explain
that?
like that.
We in Kitsap.
Yes, okay,
Yeah,
Kitsap.
I, last 2 years,
new,
we
right?
did our very first Kitsap farm tour. 2 years ago, Michelle was a host farm. This year will be our third year, this coming August. So
Yes, I haven't.
it's a new thing in Kitsap, but yeah, there's a Kitsap farm tour, third week of August. We had 11 host farms last year. And even the host farm had other farms come pop up and do like a farmer's market with lots of other farms there. Becky was at one, I was at a different one. And I know Key Peninsula has a farm tour. They're really great. I mean, I'm not on Facebook that much, but they post a lot.
Yeah.
They're really good at keeping people connected, so.
We're doing two,
Oh,
we have
are you?
June blooms, which is June,
Mhm.
and then the farm tour in September.
Cool.
And those are same thing, a lot of farms come together and.
Yeah, work together. So I know when we were planning the Kitsap one, we strategically avoided Pierce County weekend and the Jefferson weekend so that people just wanted to go to them all. You can hit them all, but I don't know if there's one in Pierce County.
Pierce County did a harvest tour, a number of them, and I think the last one was probably in '09. But I remember.
We should do it, it's so fun.
It is so fun. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So can I add something? If the goal is to get florists to the farms, don't pick a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes there's Sunday weddings, but you know.
But yeah, Saturdays usually like right out.
I know as a farmer though, like I'm really kind of self-conscious. It's a farm, not a garden, not a park. And I think people come expecting like this Instagram experience and I even have photographers call me wanting to do photos in the flower fields, which I mean, I'll take your money, but it's not gonna be like a field of blooms because I'm cutting them before they're even fully colored most of the time.
You're
except for
looking for
late
weeds,
season.
like.
Yeah, if you want lots of green and black landscaping plastic, I'm your gal, but you know, I think inviting florists, I would be so nervous.
Oh, no. You're looking at 20, cut it too.
I think I go back to the hub idea, and I love what you're doing and, you know, with the analog technology of getting flowers to florists from farms.
Yeah.
Why not have an online site that has real-time availability for farms? That's, I think, what, you know, event planners and florists would love to see. This week
Yeah.
I've got this.
And that's what ours is. Yeah, that's what ours is. You can shop it like Amazon. It's a picture, it's prices, it's the number of bunches available, all the farms in one place. So you don't have to go to different farm websites to assemble it all. You don't have to go pick it up from other farms. You can shop it in one place and then it will be delivered. So.
There's, okay.
Yeah.
So the website is again.
westsoundfloral.com. Yeah. Yeah. And we're hoping to go live the first week of April. So once the tulips really start cranking, last year we started the 1st of May, but hoping to get started earlier this year.
I'll say for like availability list too, don't discount your fruit and like vegetables. Like even as a florist designer, putting plan, whatever, like the fruit and veggies have become a really big thing. Trend.
Yes.
It's a thing and it's beautiful. And so if you can add just like tomatoes to your tablescape or even your flowers.
Peppers were a big one this last year.
Any apples, pears, anything that's
grapes
in season, and yeah, I've used strawberries, raspberries, like anything that has fruit still on it, even just the foliage can be really beautiful too. So I wouldn't discount your berries, your fruit, your vegetables, anything like that too from your availability list. It's amazing when you can add that kind of thing in and people love it, so.
Well, I think maybe I'll ask the last question and then we can did you have one?
No, go for it.
Yeah, okay. I think it's just honestly kind of building on what y'all have already touched on, and that's the idea of like messaging. And it sounds like this has come up a lot, but I think it'd be interesting to hear from like a florist perspective and a farmer's perspective, specific ways that you found to be effective in terms of kind of educating customers or educating florists, even if it's that relationship. So depending on what your background of what you're doing, like what are some effective things that you found have worked? What do you wish people knew? Just kind of helping all of us to kind of think about how we might talk to people in a way that's effective.
So for me, coming from a background where my parents both have their degrees in ag ed, and you know, I grew up watching mom teach people how to do things, inviting people to your facility, whatever your operation is, and being hands-on and being generous. You know, when you want to sell a product that they haven't seen before, teach them how to use it, make it easy. When it comes to educating the public, we do that all year long. So, you know, like I mentioned, the blueberry field, people want to know all kinds of things about blueberries. They want to know all kinds of things about farming. So when you're talking to the public, you know, don't talk down to them. Don't make jokes about how, you know, oh, everyone thinks that food comes from a grocery store, because they're people and they probably know things that you don't know. So, you know, be humble, be willing to talk and explain things at a level that they will understand. You know, my background's in animal science and horticulture, and I can get really into the weeds on certain topics, and it's really fun, but some people's eyes will glaze over. So, you know, sometimes you gotta stick to that 10,000 foot level, but you know, I love selling to brides that want to do it themselves. I love that. You know, I had a bride out last year and she was trying to figure out an economical way to use just peonies in her centerpieces. Said, hey, I have some that, you know, we didn't cut long stems on these. And if you want these with like 6-inch long stems, girl, here's a little bowl. This is what you do with it. You know, put some marbles in the bottom or something. And you can even, you know, use a little piece of wire in there and wire them together. And they were thrilled, and they bought like 200 peonies from me. They were so excited to get all these flowers because they were comfortable with the product. They knew what they could do with it. And yeah, just be flexible and be willing to share.
I'd say another move on like inviting florists to your farm. I guess maybe I'm in a weird spot because I'm a florist, but I also live and grew up on a farm. But so like I get that. And I think people were more understanding than might realize. So I wouldn't be like embarrassed to invite people out to your farm. It's like it's real life. This is our life. This is how we live. Like, you know, I wouldn't shy away from inviting people to our farm, I'll say. And like I'm also opening mine up as a venue. And so like there's definitely places where I'm like, oh God, just like don't go. It's gonna be cleaned up, whatever, but like, yeah, people I think are more understanding and flexible with that than you might realize.
Well, if they are florists, they're gonna be stoked by just things that are still budded.
Yeah,
You
true.
know, it's like, ooh, those are gonna open, they're gonna be great.
One thing I like about Seattle wholesale growers, they do have like kind of a bloom calendar of what's blooming at certain months. And I've referred clients that I mean, I love doing weddings, but I hate the customer service of it. I hate it. I will not do a mood board. It's not my jam. So I often send people to other people's websites to educate them on like the timing of flowers or, you know, colors or whatnot. So don't be afraid to, I mean, we don't have to know everything either as farmers. It's okay to, if somebody has a great website, say, hey, go check out my friend's website. They have some great info. Yeah, just being humble, not feeling like you have to know all the things or, yeah.
One thing I feel like I don't want to like take it down, but one thing is like, as a farmer, understanding that we are doing based on what our clients ask for. So even if you might have this really beautiful, like pink ranunculus, I can't use it because my girl is only doing white. Like my groom only wants the white peony, and even though pink is beautiful, but like certain things like that's like, it's not personal, it's what my client wants, and that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
And no like you said, referring to other people or to other websites.
Yeah.
And I'm at 800 feet elevation and there's gonna be peony growers with those, you know, those white blooms that someone wanted.
In a different microclimate.
Oh, yeah, they're at a lower elevation, and if you know people, refer them to people that have what they need, and then they'll remember that, oh, they knew people, I should call them next time I need something, so.
I think that's one thing that's been cool about starting the West Sound Floral Exchange and just getting to know other farmers is that there's so many customers out there and everybody wants something different. And I can't grow all the things and I'm in a certain microclimate, so trying to remember that we're not competition, you know, like maybe a little bit, but flower farming isn't some magical patented super secret thing. Like it's flowers, it's dirt, it's seeds, it's stinky fertilizer. It's really a simple thing and we can all do it in a different way that fits our personality and our joys and feeds our souls. And we don't have to be competition. Like we really can help each other and do it better together. We can sell more if we can do it together than trying to like elbow out our neighbor who's a flower farmer.
There's so many events and there's only so many weekends.
Yes.
So like
And I don't
referrings are like referring farmers, like florists, like everyone is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working with perishable items. All the time. Our competition and one. Like,
I have a question. We will be starting probably, judging by my wife's intentions, pretty vigorously to be planting a lot more flowers this year. Is there any like guidebook? I know it's very fashion based, kind of what the season happens to want, but what to start with? What, I know there's a lot of perennials and stuff you need to develop, but like if we were to start a rather large flower garden or series of garden areas, kind of a general basis, how would we know
what to plant?
What might be a successful plan?
I mean, there's a lot of, I could give you a list of things that the florists have liked to buy, but really, I think if you're starting out, like do the easy stuff first. Like there's no shame in doing the easy stuff and getting good at it and then building confidence to try some of the trickier plants because not all plants are the same. So one of my goals as a farmer is to grow less varieties, but more of them. But we're also addicted to seed catalogs and bulb websites, and I always buy things that I don't need and probably don't have space for. I mean, it's just the nature of it, but I would say start with the easy stuff, and maybe if there's the option to do trendier colors, like lean towards the trendy colors of the easy things like zinnias. Hot purple's probably not gonna sell. It's cute, but I mean, do the softer pastels or the salmon's, you know, a big one this year.
And the general idea of what the easy stuff could possibly be found in the book.
Well, these guys probably have, yeah, sunflowers,
Sunflower.
grow the fancy ones if you wanna grow
Yeah.
something fancy, but sunflowers are easy, zinnias are easy.
But also, like, if you're looking to start like building your farm, I'd start with perennials, cause then year one, you can get them going and you can plant new seeds every year.
Yeah. They're
So
expensive.
when we put in our first peony, a big peony plot, I mean, we were pulling stuff that my great grandmother had planted and dividing that and putting it in. So we have a lot of those. But we put in, and I kid you not, I think my brother's my business partner in this, and he invested in the capital. He put like $5,000 or $6,000 of roots in the ground in the first year. And I think it was 100 different kinds of peonies. And let me tell you, how many of those I've dug up and gotten rid of? Because not all peonies grow the same in every place. One of them worked out really well in one spot, and he bought 100 of them, and I'm ready to dig up all 100 of those and get rid of them because that particular kind doesn't like a late frost. It doesn't like rain, and it needs to move to Eastern Washington. And so you're going to find as you plant things and grow them that they don't work in a particular spot, or maybe you planted them too early. So don't plant all of that at once. Plan it out over about a month. Do, you know, some one week, some the next week, succession plant, all the same, you know, of the same species. Don't be afraid to try different things, and don't be afraid to pivot. If you don't have a way to keep deer out of it, don't plant tulips. You know, like, and even if you do have a way to keep deer out, turns out the bulls really like them too. So I just gave up on tulips entirely. But, you know, you'll figure out your property and what works great on it. If it's really wet, you know, pussy willows will grow right next to the pond, and they're really cool and they keep out of water. I mean, you know your land, figure out your land and what you've got for water availability. And just, you know, keep learning.
And you're gonna kill a lot of stuff. So it's like so much stuff. Yeah.
Expensive compost.
It is, yeah. So, I mean, as a new farmer, I would suggest don't do expensive stuff to start because you're gonna kill a lot of it. So do the cheap, easy stuff that you can kill and not feel bad about, and you can get confident growing. And then, you know, as you kind of learn some of your processes and learn your land, learn your sunlight, learn, you know, your water movement through your property is a really big deal, especially a lot of flowers don't like wet feet. So yeah, don't do the expensive stuff to start unless you like have a bulletproof premium spot to plant expensive peonies. So I know people say plant them early, but I wouldn't go into debt for farming, you know, if you can help it. So
I feel like how many times do you want to move them?
right?
Like, I feel like that's the experience with perennials was like,
Yes.
they're like plant early and you're like, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many things I've moved. It's like, I didn't know.
And
for like
moved
2 or
like
3
three
times.
times,
Right.
4 times.
I found it helpful to,
Yeah.
I don't, everybody's so different, but.
A good, like, just beginner resource that I like just to use so much is the, Lisa Mason Ziegler Cut Flower Handbook.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's her newest one. I think it's like just 2 years old, but it's so accessible and so handy, like just for all the annuals. Lisa Mason Ziegler is the author. Her website's The Gardener's Workshop, and she actually does a ton of information. But the
Free
book,
classes and.
yeah, the book, The Cut Flower Handbook, is the one that I've used the most.
We have a list of resources, including that one
Oh,
out on the
I
table.
think I've got that. Yeah.
Also, I feel like everyone's here to learn, so like, don't be afraid to just call someone. Be like, I met you at the workshop and I wanna know more about.
I'm always happy to have people out to the farm, always,
Same.
any time of year.
I wanna come.
Okay, now I'm.
my question is around pricing. So, you know, one of the things is, you know, when you're selling to wholesale, it's a different price. When you're selling to florists, it's a different price. Do you have anything to kind of be that guide to be able to price your flowers correctly?
I think if you make an account as a buyer
Yeah.
at Seattle Wholesale Growers Market, then you can have access to their price list, which I feel like is like when everyone's the same price, that's really helpful.
Right.
Versus like nobody trying to undercut each other.
Right.
And I think,
Yes.
yeah, the Seattle Wholesale Growers List is like
Pretty
a good
solid.
resource.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I mean, if the florists are going to the Seattle wholesalers,
Right.
why would they pay money unless you have an exceptional product?
Yeah, when I sell wholesale versus to a florist, it's virtually the same price,
Okay.
just about.
Yeah.
What I get when I sell to a wholesaler is gonna be, maybe a little less, but I know what they're selling it for. And I'll try to sell to a florist for, you know, maybe a little less than that, especially if they're close. You know, if it's someone that's close, it's like, you know, I want to save them the trip to Tacoma.
Right.
Because it's a drive for us, right?
Yeah, sure is. Takes an hour to get anywhere.
What is your opinion about, like, you know, you have your price from Seattle wholesalers that you know it is, and then another company wanting just half that price? Would you sell it to them?
No.
Yeah, Washington has a published price list too, but I caution people because it's their retail price. It is not their
True.
commercial price or their wholesale price. They have 3 different tiers. They're very cloak and dagger about how that works. But the published price is retail price, which is usually by my math, looking at my sales receipt compared to the price, it's usually like 40 to 50% of that listed price, what our professional customers would pay.
Yeah, so
So
that price is like what, if just anyone goes in and buys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just some random person with no business account, so retail. It's hard though to price stuff, partly why we started West Sound Florals, because I've tried to sell to Washington Floral. They wanted to give me $10 for anemones with stems like this big and flower heads that were huge, and they were gonna sell them for $44 bunch retail, which now I know was probably about 20 something for a wholesaler commercial customer. But still, like, not every sales opportunity is a good sales opportunity, and that's okay to not access that if it doesn't work for you, so.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you're starting this hub. I'm so excited to see real time. I've got this today and it looks great. And I hope
It's pretty fun.
Sell.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I'd love to bring you flowers.
Going back to the marketing and educating consumers, I have a mirroring part with Claire on how like flowers can be anything and everything. It's basically found out in the space that we live, and I love being able to educate my friends and family on what can be considered beautiful in flowers and in what we're walking around. But still, the idea is I want something quick and fast, and I'm gonna go to Trader Joe's and buy something for $5. And I think one way that I've seen that, still where I'm educating, but the fallback is still that like quick flower, is coming through one of my friends who is a YouTuber. That's like my main, who I go through when I'm thinking about this conversation. And she gets her income through ads on her videos. So like a company like Instacart or something will sponsor her video and she will speak about it and sell it to her subscribers, basically. And I'm curious if it's ever been thought to for West Sound for like sponsoring yourself through a local YouTuber to then market to other local folks that are watching. She's in Issaquah. And so to like market your flowers or like flowers that farmers are growing here and saying like, hey, I want to sponsor your video. And these are the things that I would love for you to
Never even
highlight.
thought of it.
So that, and this can be also like any farm too. It doesn't have to be like a group or, a hub. So where you can start getting that, what you want to share and what you want other consumers to start learning. And it's an educational piece as well, through like a paid promotion. And there are so many local YouTubers of like, you can find your niche depending on if it's moms or if it's florists or I don't know, whoever your people that are mainly buying from you and saying like, hey, you have so many followers that are similar to you, then can you share all of this great information so that we can start like turning the tides of education and pushing out towards people that you know that you're going to reliably influence and then change to buying a certain way that you can then produce for. Any thoughts on this or has
I'm
anyone?
so bad at social media, so that's like an epiphany to me. Thank you.
I just think it's like a really untapped way to get like direct access to the people that you want to sell to. Because I know that not everyone's gonna travel out to LB, but I will. And I know that there are people that are going to. We just need to like hit those populations. So, anyway.
I didn't realize that ads could be that like
Yeah.
location targeted, so that's
right.
Me neither.
Yeah.
And like, I have that connection, so if anyone wants to like talk to me afterwards about who is this YouTuber, and then she has YouTuber friends in the community that then you can also promote through them. It doesn't have to be like Instacart or like these big things. She also like does small businesses as well. You just have to be competitive because she's also trying to run her business. But I think it's something that could be interchanged.
So I had another thing to add for education. My mom, as I mentioned, was a teacher and she taught floral design. And one of her students actually works at the Elm Safeway, now one of her previous students. And so sometimes if I'm in a pinch, I'll go in there and be like, hey, I need such and such. She's like, oh, we have it in the cooler, you know? So some of these kids that take these floral design classes,